Hello. This is your host, Sheraz Ahmed, ready to kick off another bite-sized episode of the Crypto Valley Association podcast. A special thank you to Seba Bank for supporting this initiative as they pursue their mission to redefine finance for the new economy. Now let's discover together the growing trends of this fast-moving space and try to shed some light on the mysteries it contains. Today, we are joined by Michael Chrisment, Chief Executive Officer of Pharma Connect, whose vision is to humanize consumption through technology by helping farmers to connect to the world around them. So without further ado, let's dive straight in and uncover how blockchain can support supply chains. Hello, Michael. How are you doing today?
Hello. I'm really good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Of course, it's my pleasure. And how about we start off today by hearing about how you first got involved within this blockchain world?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think as far as I can relate it to technology, I would say is when I was 6 and when I got my first computer. So instead of answering a question straight on blockchain, I'll talk about technology because I'm really passionate about tech. Some people might call me geek. So I've been observing in the past. Now if I go back to 6 years old, about 35 years, what technology has brought to this world, and it's been an acceleration. It's been an amazing journey. And if you look at every single disruption that has happened, it's really overwhelming. So when we got to the point where, we got the internet, we got all sorts of other ways after that. When looking at blockchain, as first I looked at it as, okay, what is that thing? And what is crypto? And crypto, is it cryptic? Would that go somewhere? But then when I got really interested in is in my time in media, when I was in the media outlet, when specifically close to the young generation, and I was observing teens, and I was observing the way they were using, and they were looking at those technology in a seamless way, like when they would think that this is the way to go forward. And then when I applied it to my experience, and when I applied it to the world of food, then I felt like, wow, there's so many ways on leveraging technology, and first and foremost, connectivity and connections between people. And all those nodes and all those connections, which is, very close to what human beings are and being social animals, needs to be organized in a digital world. So this is where I started to feel like, okay, this is something big. This is really a changing paradigm, and that's going to enable so many great usage. And I'm so glad that after thinking about that, then the opportunity at Pharma Connect came, which I think is a combination of a lot of things that I've just said and a lot of things that I've been doing. So I got really excited about
that. Incredible! A technologist at heart. It's lovely to see. And I mean, please tell us more about Pharma Connect and potentially also about the values driving you and the company forward as well.
Yeah. Let me start with a question. So I shouldn't be the one asking questions, but I'm asking you a question. Did you have a coffee today?
I did. I just had an espresso. Yes.
Super. Do you know where it's coming from?
Unfortunately not, no.
Okay. Well, here we go. So, this is what Pharma Connect does, is trying to put, details and transparency behind the products that you consume on a daily basis. So, and we do that by providing the software that enable transparency behind the journey of each product. And not only the journey, but also, the people behind and how it's been produced, in what way, and with what impact. So we provide the software that enable that all the way from the very beginning with farmers, with farm producers, across the entire supply chain, and each and every single players of the supply chain, all the way to the consumer. And that's the core of what Pharma Connect does. And to go back to what you asked me in the intro, I got really excited by that because when you ask that question and when you start to have answers to the question, you automatically get more involved and more interested and basically get closer to the product and to all the people behind it. So when you are a marketer like me, so I'm not only a technologist, but I'm also a marketer, so I'm a bit of a geeky, brandy guy. You see all opportunities coming in for short-term gains, efficiencies, or things like that, but also for longer gains, like brand value or preference or loyalty. So you see all sorts of things, because then closer relationship brings a lot of additional value. So Pharma Connect does that. We provided the software that enables that to happen. We started in coffee, we continued in cocoa, and that's for the moment the two commodities where we are currently involved in through different products. But maybe we can elaborate also on the details behind that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Wow, that's wonderful. I'll definitely pay attention to where my coffee is coming from and next time I have a cup. And okay, wonderful. And I just want to take on one of your taglines. A new horizon for farmers, consumers, and everyone in between. Maybe let's take some time to talk about everyone in between. I mean, who is really in between all of this?
Well, there are a lot of businesses. I mean, obviously, you start with farmer, and when you say farmers, it could be already a family. So agriculture is the biggest vertical in the world. It's touching 1 billion people lives. And so that's already a big group of people. But when you move then further, you get farmers getting together. You get groups of farmers getting together in cooperative. Then you've got people moving stuff. Then you get people packing, transforming, shipping from one place to another place, transporters, exporters, importers, people who are transforming, people who are doing packaging, people who are doing distribution, people who are doing retail, people who are selling, brands. I mean, all of those people are involved in the supply chain. So, cooperative exporters, importers, traders, I mean, you name it, there's so many people involved. And this is why, you understand that so much value is added at every step of the way. And added or eaten, depends the way you look at things. And people then gather and need to share a lot of information, and that has to be organized. And it's still very, very, very analog. And if it's starting to be digital, it's ancient digital, I call it. Excel spreadsheets, emails, even fax, So there's many ways of improving the sharing of information about how products are passed to one another. So this is why this is really a new horizon. Because, I was talking to CEO recently and quoting him, he was telling me, how much sustainability is high on the agenda as of today. Unfortunately, as of today, but it's now really central in the agenda of most CEOs, and there's no way around it. And when we see the world, it's really an urgency. And he was telling me that there's no sustainability success or impact without digital. You can't do it without digital, because you need the data, you need the transparency, you need the action, and you need velocity. You need to go fast, right? So if you don't have the data in a digital form, then you can't change. You can't really change. You can't embrace. It takes really a village to make those things change. So digital is really core to that, and all the technologies that digital can enable is really part of that transformation. So that's why it's really a new horizon, because everyone can benefit from that. And it's really the point of saying everyone should benefit from that, because if there's no incentive to everyone within the supply chain, then things won't change. And this was one of the key observations of our founder before starting Pharma Connect. It has to be done together within an ecosystem as a group.
Okay. Now I definitely see, and we'll touch more upon the kind of the part of each step of the way a part is eaten. Eaten. I think that's a very, very interesting one to dive in. And you mentioned a lot about digitally, right? I mean, we need to do this in a digital way, and you have two applications now. We'll touch on both. Maybe the first one being the Farmer ID app. Can you talk to us about the importance of allowing farmers to get a proof of identity? I mean, what does that mean, and what does it actually entail from that?
Yeah, I think there's a risk in digitalizing the entire supply chain when it comes to the origin levels, that we might impose a sort of a neo-colonialism to the origin market and to the farmers specifically. So we might agitate in front of them the benefits of sharing the data, but not allowing them to own the data and not allowing them to manage how their data is shared. So it's very important. It is a responsibility to really enable farmers to first create and share the data related to their produce and own it. And I really mean own it, because if we're building value and creating additional value, because this is what we're doing, when we gather data, we're creating tangible additional value, there must be something for the farmers. Has
Yes.
to be. Has to be. Otherwise, it's raping them even more than what could have happened in the past decades. And so we need to show this and to be responsible to provide this as an incentive for them to invest time, knowledge into sharing the data in a structured way. So we need to do that together and define the real standards, so that the data that is gathered is useful to the entire chain, but also to them in a very responsible way. So
Yeah.
it's really key. It's really key, because there's no way farmers can't monetize the data, because technically they will start, and they have started already, but they will start at scale to sell not only their produced, but their produced plus data.
Yeah, I see.
So I think it's very, very important, and this is where maybe less about blockchain, because what we're talking about here is another technology which we're using called SSI, so self-sovereign identity, which enable to create those profiles, to verify those profiles, to attach to those profiles digital credentials, to allocate and to allow farmers to manage where this data will then travel and to whom and how. And that's really the start. And I think SSI is a very promising technology, again, that we're using. It's still early days, but it's very, very promising.
Yes.
Accelerating.
Oh. Okay, well, that's wonderful to hear. And I want to touch upon that a little bit further. I mean, I know that you're ex-Nestlé, and how do you believe like your old employer and other larger organizations feel about the kind of further empowering the farmers? I mean, potentially if the farmers are getting more, these larger corporations that are currently controlling a lot of this industry, they're going to be getting less. I mean, how do they feel about this kind of the trend towards what you've just mentioned?
I don't think it's less. I think it's more. Everyone will get to know more, and everyone will get to show more. So that's why I'm really optimistic about finding an incentive for everyone across the board. It's really more, and knowledge is creating that value. So I'm not really concerned about that. And I do think also there's a lot of risk in is not moving on, because some of the communities are really endangered. So when you look at coffee in particular, I mean, the demand for coffee is absolutely exploding. So when you look at the 2050 horizon, the demand for coffee is multiplied by 3. So it's tripling.
Oh, wow.
So it's really exploding. So when you are one of those, companies and brands, you're excited about what's around you, right? Because the demand is exploding. So obviously you've got a very bright outlook from a business standpoint. But if the supply is not following the demand, then you have an issue. You have a very big issue. So when you're asking yourselves, what are the current incentives for producers to continue and to actually continue and produce more, it's quite limited. Would you as a coffee farmer recommend your children to continue to produce? That's when you look at what has happened in the past decades and how it's difficult to leave out of your work. So that's why I think those everyone within the industry is very incentivized to change, to evolve, to have better shared value, to create additional shared value, for all, because otherwise, there's a limit to the future. It's, you're not going to get enough supply for your demand. So it's going to be a huge problem.
I see. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that side of things. And maybe if you move on to your second application called Thank My Farmer, where these producers can share their story, which is truly incredible. How relevant is this to the business as a whole? And do you have any interesting stories maybe to share with us from this app?
Yeah, I think I'll get many stories to share, but I think in terms of business, which might be the focus of our conversation today, probably one key example is one of our clients recently seen that the interaction with their consumers on the website related to the product which we are tracing was moving from about 20 seconds to about 2 minutes and a half.
Oh, wow.
So if you're just thinking about what sort of impact anyone can have, and I'm saying anyone, it's like anyone, it's like you talking to someone in the street or trying to get your father to lend you some money for a trip. What differences make from you having 20 minutes to pitch, 20 seconds to pitch, or 2.5 minutes to pitch? That's, for me, it's just like time is value, and just to be able to enter conversation for a longer period of time on meaningful content, meaningful topics, because then you're talking about the origin of the product, the people behind it, the way it's crafted. You're fully transparent about how it travels, when and where and how. And then you link this to the opportunity to contribute, because Thank My Farmer is also a way to crowdfund money towards sustainability projects at the origin. So you're entering a totally different relationship than just, you're watching a movie on TV and then you're disrupted by a 30-second ad, right? So you're really in a totally different mode of communication. So I think this is the key benefit of, from a business standpoint. Again, there are many other things we can talk about for Thank My Farmer. From a business standpoint, it's really that relationship building that leads, as everybody knows, beyond awareness to consideration, to repeat purchase, to more loyalty, and you just have more trust, and you care more, and you're closer, and you buy more. So that's your preference is increased, and your loyalty to that specific product or brand is increased.
Yeah, well, I see. Great, and although we're cutting it rather short, I mean, tell us about the impact of blockchain technology within all of this.
I mean, blockchain for us has been instrumental to develop trust in the ecosystem we're building. So, as I said in the beginning, our founder really was visionary in thinking that the solution that he needed for himself as a start within his own company, because PharmaConnect was built out of an industry need and a specific player within the industry, so Kafina, who's a coffee trader. He was visionary in pitching the idea that it was not only good to solve the issue for himself, but really to make it industry-wide. And that would be even more beneficial than just developing an IT tool for one player within the industry. So I think what blockchain has been instrumental is to organize trust within that ecosystem of different players. Because if there's no trust, you can't get people to work together, specifically when they are competitors. Because we do host not only different players who have common interest and sometimes conflicting interests, but we do host also competitors for every type of players we have on the platform, and it works.
Okay, wow, intriguing. I mean, trust is at the core of a lot of these technologies, and I'm very intrigued to hear your opinions on where you believe the space, the blockchain one, and also, let's say, the innovative technology space is going to grow, I guess, with keeping trust in mind as we become further digitized. I mean, please share with us your thoughts. Where do you think we're headed 5-10 years down the line?
So I would be really cautious about being a futurologist because there's only one thing that you can be sure of is that you'll be wrong. But anyway, what really matters to me when I look at what rising technology or other technology is everything that can help in two dimensions. The first dimension is remove friction and increase speed of action. So anything that goes with that, making it easier, making it faster is very, very, very interesting to us, and anything that enables automation.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say those two areas. So when you think about those two areas, then everything that goes with smart contracting, everything that goes with AI, with machine learning is where we're looking at, because that brings the benefits I just listed. Because as soon as you've put quite some energy, because it's true, when you start this type of journey,
yes,
you need to change, you need to transform. So it takes some time. But as soon as you've done that work, anything that can help and make it easier, making it faster, automating things is where you really win, where you constantly showcase additional benefits, and that would sustain the effort and grow and scale it. So that's the focus area.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today, Michael. And before we close up, and unfortunately, I mean, do you have any final words for our listeners today?
Yeah, I would just jump on a recent news that we had during the course of summer, and joining the UNGC, so United Nations Global Compact movement. So Pharmacnet is really proud to contribute to that. I think it confirms our commitment as a company beyond everything that we do from a technology standpoint to make a difference, to have an impact. So obviously we're a business for profit, but we're also a business for profit for good. We want to have an impact. We want to be held accountable for our impact and being measured. And I'm not saying this only to focus on Pharmacnet, but to encourage also everyone to look at their own business and to see what sort of measurable impact they could make to the UN SDG targets, because I think we should all make a difference, and that should be a focus for everyone.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, Michael. And if you enjoyed this conversation, feel free to check out more on our website, cryptovalley.swiss, where we host plenty of events, educational material, and even provide information on how you can join our growing community. So, Michael, I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Sheraz.
Pleasure. Stay tuned, stay safe, and until next time from the Crypto Valley in Switzerland. Bye-bye.